Okay, I'm in a Airbnb in Phoenix. Cocodona starts in 2 days, and lately I've been writing out what I'm gonna say, but I think we're just gonna let this baby go, talk through my Cocodona plan, my thoughts, my strategy, and go from there. So why? Well, 5 years ago, I started Cocodona, and I didn't know anything. I learned along the way. 2 years ago, I started this podcast and I scheduled it to go out right when Cocodona started because I was so nervous. A lot of people in my life told me, "There's too many podcasts, like, what are you gonna say that's different? You shouldn't do it, waste of time." And I listened to them for a long time. The problem was they didn't know my why or my reason that I wanted to do it. And I think that goes for a lot of races too. Like you just assume people want to win or be first or have a popular podcast or a job or a career or a bunch of money or power or fame or fortune, but you don't really know the true thing. Only we know that about ourselves. Like we can tell people, but also they're going to look at us skeptical and, trouble believing what we're actually saying. Why I wanted to start it is to connect with people. That's the reason I'm still alive is small people make a big difference in our lives. The people who genuinely care, who look at you, who check in, who ask, who support you, who simply are curious about what you're doing. And that I think gives us such a powerful platform to express our self-confidence, what we're into, what we want to do. And that's what I wanted to do with this whole launching a podcast. I scheduled it to go out right when Cocodona started because I was too nervous to see any of the comments, any of the, I don't know, stats on if anyone was listening. I didn't know if people would listen, but I wanted to practice talking. It's been something that has been a struggle my whole life, starting from probably first grade, kindergarten, all these things. It's communication is hard. It gives me a lot of anxiety. It's tough to talk to people. I'm still nervous before every interview. I don't know what we're going to talk about all the time, even though I usually have a page of notes or even more sometimes. And I've listened to multiple hours of podcasts with a guest on just in preparation. But it's given me a lot of confidence that I can exist in the world and talk to other people. And so is Cocodona. It was the entryway into this trail running community and world. I had so much fun with it. I met my friend Bryce Brooks, who got to pace me. I met Jamil Curry a month before the race, actually. But all these aid station volunteers, Patty Curry, people along the way. And I think that that is my why and what's important is I get to express or have this confidence in myself that I can do this thing, whether it's talking to a guest, talking into a camera, talking into a void, or covering 250 miles. So, on the anniversary of this thing existing, thank you all for being here. It's amazing that people listen, that it's done so well that I get to be myself live, well, live to tape in front of an audience and just have opinions, talk to people, and just exist. I think that was so hard growing up as I felt like I didn't wanna be noticed and wanted to melt away because I was insecure and nervous and didn't like what I was. And I still struggle with that every day, but we're getting there. So thank you for being here. It's the 2-year anniversary of this podcast. We've done over 200 episodes, probably had over 150 guests. It's been awesome, and we're gonna keep it going, but let's dive into Cocodona 250. Now that you know why it is special to me. So this training block and things in general have been really clunky since the Appalachian Trail. I finished that. I achieved a dream. I mean, it was far from perfect. I mean, so much went wrong. I definitely could have been faster. But on the other hand, could I have? Like, would I have gotten the experience, the enjoyment, the factor that I wanted by just simply being, say, a day faster? I don't know. It was about the adventure. It wasn't about setting the fastest known time. It was using that as a benchmark, something to aim at. It was my point. I wanted to go for that, but it was also just continuing and putting forth the best effort that I could with however I set myself up. As we know, I'm not a great planner. I still have to do my nutrition for Cocodona 250. I have it all mapped out, but I have to like measure out the drop bags, not the drop bags, the aid station bags. But two left shoes, broken poles, messed up battery power, all kinds of stuff. That is how I live. That is exciting. That is the part that I don't like about myself and hid for most of my life. It makes me nervous, but also helps me have a grand adventure. It helps me enjoy life. That's why I couldn't be an accountant because you've got to get taxes and financial statements and numbers exactly correct. And if you've been here long enough, you know that first and wrong is still first, or accuracy is more of a guideline. We like to have fun here. I think entertainment, smiling, comedy, all of that is so necessary to digest the real facts of the world. So, to get into Cocodona, I've just felt so much immense pressure after that. Like I achieved the front facing thing, which was the FKT and got FKT of the year, but that came with like this pressure on what's next. How are you going to follow it up? Like that came in every interview that I did. And I kept doing the interviews because when I was 25 and did the calendar year Triple Crown, my dad told me, you should do all these interviews and podcasts because you never know when people will stop inviting you. So that has been a little extra. But, anyways, it's been hard to figure out what is the why, what am I holding on to, and what do I enjoy? And that's what I've really explored in this Cocodona training block. I think Barkley was just much too soon. I didn't get an off season. I found out I was in Barkley in late 2025 and had to flip the switch and just go from enjoying movement to a full training block. And if I was coaching myself, wait, I am coaching myself, then I would have said that is too much too soon, but that's okay. We explore these things. None of us are perfect. I wanted to really be so invested, but it just felt like so much. And then it might have been the universe telling me to just slow down. When I got hurt at Barkley, I took 4 weeks off and got to just let things simmer down. I got to do outdoor March Madness. Hopefully, you play next year if you didn't play this year. I got to like connect and put some effort into things I really liked. I got to learn some things, write some more Substacks, and get into things. And then by the time I was healed and feeling good, I was ready to move. I was ready to get back into things and really loved it. So the universe really did me a favor, letting me step back and just reset the system. I still did a bunch of miles. I had like a 5 week period, I think, where every week was over 100 miles. And that looks cool on Strava, but a lot of it was just like pure movement, maybe with a pack or weighted pack, I guess you would call it. But it was just like this movement style that I really enjoy. There were some really concentrated or um, rigid speed workouts or threshold sessions within that. But for the most part, it was like an enjoyment of movement, an enjoyment of FKT pace, an enjoyment of running, an enjoyment of Cocodona pace type of training block. I got in a ton of miles. I came down to Arizona, spent 3 weeks down here, did a training camp with John G, sponsor of the show, janji.com. Use code free outside for 10% off. But I got to train on the course. I did about half the course. I had really consistent mileage. I felt pretty good. And then when I went back to Montana, it started snowing. I got in about 2 more good weeks back there before I just had to take a step back. I had a lot of athletes that I coach racing different races, a lot of things up in the air. We have a wedding. Can you believe that? Jeff Garmire is going to be getting married. That is crazy. Who tamed this cowboy? But yeah, there was just a lot of external stuff that was weighing on me. We're also making a film about the Appalachian Trail, so that is exciting and marketing with that. But the last 2 weeks, I just ran about 25 miles a week. Didn't stress things too much, a few workouts. I quit early because my head wasn't in it, and I needed to preserve that enjoyment and love of doing this to do well at Cocodona. So the fitness is there. The training block was pretty good and then pretty clunky. It was a taper where it was more like a fall off the cliffer than a taper. It didn't like go from 100 miles to 20 miles through a smooth descension through multiple weeks. It was like 100 miles, 20 miles, fall off a cliff. But that's okay. I think no training block is perfect. I feel pretty fresh. Things are feeling good. No injuries. And I'm just excited to get to go move. And two things that I did this year that are different than recently is I worked with a sports nutritionist to come up with a plan, especially for day one, where I've traditionally struggled, where it's going to involve more sodium and more hydration than normal, and even carrying more than the required 4 liters of capacity. So that is my plan there. I have gels that I've tested, all kinds of stuff, a lot more than what young Jeffrey would have done, especially the first year when I didn't know what a drop bag was, I didn't know what my nutrition was, and I just grabbed Stroop waffles from every aid station and ate those along the way. And so I also worked with a mental performance coach because it just felt like there was so much pressure that I was putting on myself. I have this issue where I didn't have any friends, and what athletics was in high school was this way to stand out and be a part of something, to be acknowledged and be included. Because I would make the sports team, I was kind of the outcast. All the kids would go to a party, like the varsity basketball team would get invited to a party. I wouldn't get invited. I wouldn't have gone. I know that, but I just wanted to be invited. Still feel the same way. I don't necessarily want to go and be social. In fact, my social bar, my social ability, my social battery is very small, probably a triple A, but I would like to be invited and included. I think that's where I feel like I'm part of something and part of a community. And that's why I like ultra running and through hiking and the outdoors and having a space where I try to find people who maybe don't have the loudest voice and have them on the show sometimes. I mean, we have a great balance from people with 3 million followers down to people with no social media. But I just like having a community where we don't value that. It's not like who has the most followers, that's who we're having on. No, we don't care. But back then in high school, doing well, being on the varsity basketball team was this way to be included, acknowledged, a part of something. It's the only way. I wasn't really talking a lot in class or acknowledge too much. And that means that it puts immense pressure on sports still to this day that if I do well, I will be included. And if I don't do well, I will be abandoned. And that is not healthy. It is not true, but it's something in the back of my mind. So it's something I've had to work through both through therapy and then now with a mental performance coach. I've been in therapy for 6 years after I acknowledged and realized that mental health is a real thing. Thank you. That's COVID quickly taught me that when all my athletic endeavors were ripped away, along with a lot of income. But it was really good. It was what I needed. I ended up working at a grocery store, and man, the lows were massive, but it helped me come to grips with what was really weighing on me. It wasn't stocking shelves, it was some of these things that were underlying and under the surface for many years. But going into this Cocodona and with the success of the Appalachian Trail and winning FKT of the year, it built this thing up that was so big that it felt like I was right back in my high school self of I had to prove that the AT wasn't a fluke or I would get abandoned and not have a community or people or friends, and that is unhealthy. I knew that was unhealthy, but it's so hard to decouple yourself from those formative years when you're growing up. And so that's one of my biggest things that I've been working through. And so there's 3 words that I came up with this mental performance coach, and I came up with a mantra or a reminder for each of them. So the acronym actually is PCT, which is really fun because the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail, is what I did when I was 20 years old, and I credit that is when I became an adult. I grew up. I kinda learned who I am, what I enjoy, and what is great. And what I learned the most, the biggest thing, was the presence, the community, and the trust of both myself and others being part of something and being present with people. How powerful that was. That's why this podcast is so fun because I get to be present with people, even if it's virtual. Okay, it's mostly present. but it's like we're in this moment, we're having a discussion, and we're listening actively to what each other says and responding to it. And I love that. It gets me scared and it's hard and very daunting. Feels like I'm pulling back the layers and putting myself out there, but it's been so good for my growth as a human, just like the PCT was. So, PCT, that's the acronym. P is for presence, C is for community, and T is for trust. So, I have three mantras in my philosophy. And if you want, the first time I interviewed Will Murray, we talked some about mantras and self talk and stuff. So, that's a great episode too. If you want to go back and listen to someone else talk about rather than me yap on a solo episode. But these are my mantras. And I think to have a good mantra, it has to be something you can remember. So that's why the acronym PCT is really good for me. And it has to be something that will cue a change of thought, comfort, a feeling. Like it has to be worthwhile. Does that make sense? So it has to, I think, like action generated thing or like a centering thing, something that's going to get you where you want to be. So here are mine PCT. P is for presence. And that my mantra for that is be here now. So if my mind is wandering, if I'm worried about the future, if I'm worried about how I'm going to place, if I'm worried about where I'm at in the field as far as like placement or doing well, if I'm worried about something in the future or dwelling on something in the past, I need to be here now. It's got to bring me back to present because that's all I can control. I think of it as like you're on the blade of a knife and you can fall off into the past or fall off into the future. But real life, the only thing you can control is on that blade. And you just keep walking down it. It's very narrow because presence is so fleeting. It's like this second and that's it. But presence, be here now. C for community. It's really hard. I do so many self-supported things my whole life. I've spent years living alone in the woods, whether it's the Calendar Year Triple Crown or the Great Western Loop or a slew of FKTs or living without a car, living in a different country for months. So many stories of all these things. But why I live in Bozeman, why I'm getting married, why I have Bozeman Run Club and friends is because community. And that takes letting people help. So that's that mantra. Let people help. My aunt will be crewing, Tara Dower, Katie Gunvalson, Pete Deneen, and Cody will all be pacing. And they're here because they want to help. And I have to acknowledge that their reasons are pure and I have to let them. I'm not used to that. I didn't have close friends in high school. I didn't have practice letting people be a part of things or be in on things. I felt very alone. And that's how I got comfortable. But now people are out here to help and I need to let them. So let people help. And that means sharing what I need, asking for what I need, being open about how things are or what it's going to take. So that is C. And for T, trust yourself. So I have 5 years of experience. This will be my sixth year of Cocodona. I have 40,000 miles of through hiking, backpacking, and FKTs. I probably have another 30,000 miles of running. I know how to do and solve every problem that will come up, but I need to trust that because sometimes it's easy to just take on someone else's race plan. Like if someone takes less water in an aid station, I need to trust that my plan to take more water is the right one. I need to trust that is the key. I know the answers, but I can't cheat off someone else's race plan. I need to trust that mine is correct. And that's how I'm going to be successful at this. So, PCT, presence, be here now, community, let people help, trust yourself. So that's the race plan. That's how things are going to go. I could get into the nitty gritty on splits and things, but I thought this might be more informative for anyone crafting a race plan, an FKT plan, a through hike in the future on how I like to center myself, how things I incorporate into coaching, and just action items, how to break something down into three ways that you're going to solve every problem. So, in those three statements are the method that I'm going to solve anything that comes up, how I'm going to get through it, and how I'm going to feel confident with what I choose. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to win. That's an outcome goal. But every problem, adversity along the way is going to be solved through those three, which are derived from my values: presence, community, and trust. So that's a plan. Tune in. Hopefully, you enjoy it. And I appreciate you guys. It's so fun to have a community where we can do crazy things like outdoor March Madness. And Allison Mercer, our Jeffrey Award winning correspondent, created a Cocodona live stream bingo card. So that will be released along with this episode. It is on the Free Outside Podcast Instagram. I don't think you have to have an Instagram to even go over there and check it out. So you can just like screenshot it, play along, drop it in the chat or mention it in the live stream chat for Cocodona, throw some tiger emojis in there, have fun with things, and it will be a great race. I do it because it's fun. I have to remind myself that it's going to be a great time. So, the show is also brought to you by Garage Grown Gear, garagegrowngear.com. I'm wearing Exotoe socks for the whole thing. You can get those over there. If I use poles, it'll be the LT5s from Gossamer Gear and so much more. I'm very nervous because that's how I get, especially when it's a community, social, involved thing. I want this, but it scares me. So that is exciting. I will do my best with whatever the day gives me. And I appreciate you all being here. So with that, see you on the flip side. Play Cocodona livestream bingo and just have some fun. Come up, decide what your values are, and decide how you're going to center yourself and make decisions through them. All right. Stay elite, my friends.